Welcome to Logos Bible Software Tutorials. And today we are going to dive into the exegetical guide. We are going to work step by step through every aspect of the exegetical guide, and I'm going to explain each. Let's get at it. So our screen is blank, and I'd like to start from a blank screen so you know exactly what I'm doing, how I got to where. So we're going to go to guide. We're going to go to exegetical guide, and we're going to click Luke 1:1-4. Go through each aspect. One thing I'm going to mention is that if you want to add something of everything that is available, that you can add it to any guide. So first you have your kind of content. So under this section is if you have anything that was created, whether it's a note file, a passage, or anything, that's going to show up in your content. Textual variants. Most of you, if you are preaching, if you are teaching, this really is not going to be much use to you at all. And you would have to know things like Greek and Hebrew extremely well. So here's a nice one though, that this is a commentary on each word. So or then on each verse. This is from the textual commentary of the Greek New Testament. So there's just one on verse 3, and it goes in the lengths on Kamoi. And it gives you some information about this and what is in the various manuscripts. Like I said, if you're preaching, you're probably not going to get too much into here. This one is the word by word. So, of course, you have the Greek here and you have the English. Here's what I recommend for you to do. Any questions that you have in this text. So if I wanted to know what the word and the undertaking is, I'm going to click on here and it's going to populate. And then if I want to look more about this word, into the various grammars that I'm going to go there. It's going to list all your grammars. Let me tell you the two I use more than anything else. I use a BDAG and Launida. Those are the ones that I use virtually every time. Because I don't use the DBL Greek or anything like that. I use BDAG and I use Launida. You can use whichever ones you want. That to me, it gives me the best meaning and understanding of these words. Also, I would, if you don't know Greek, then I would stick to the English word, click on the English word. Because if I go to the, so say for instance, I come in here because I click here because it's not going to, well, because it will, but I just think staying with the English and getting our answers with the English is going to give me the best. So it's going to give up. So in this place, so the word undertaken, it's going to give me my Greek word, epikeresan. And it's also going to pronounce it. That it's going to give you the root, which is epikereo.
Epigero.
It's going to give you that. It's going to give you the type of word, what type of verb it is. So here's the verb. It's going to give us the senses from the Bible sense lexicon. It's going to give you information there. if I wanted to know where this word is used, I just click on it and it's going to populate. And it's going to populate into your word study. If I want to know more about the sense from the Bible sense lexicon, it's going to bring up the sense of this word. And then it's going to give me all the lexicons that which I have. So now we're going to close this out. And here's also a thing up to that, the settings. I can choose to show all words. I can show only lemmas occurring to a specific amount of times. I can show all parts of speech, or I can include only certain parts. So whatever you're looking for, that you can customize this to show only those things that you are interested in. I normally focus on the verbs. So whenever I'm preaching and or teaching, I really want to know what the verbs. I'm not as concerned with the other ones. I am, but I focus on the verbs and I see what the prepositions are saying as well. Next is the grammatical construction. So this was the whole grammatical construction tool was developed. I want to say probably 5-10 years ago. So it's going to tell you the specific grammatical construction. You can click on it, and it's going to give you the definition of the grammatical construction. It's pulling from the documentation on the Greek grammatical construction. They also have a Hebrew grammatical construction. I can search every time it has this. So if I want to search it, and I can search in the entire Bible. Now, what I can also do is I can change this. I can go into all passages, and I can change this to only when this is used in the book of Luke. And then, then it tells me where the grammatical construction is in my passage. Moving on, important words. So it's going to give you the important words, but more importantly, it tells you. So when I click on the lemma in a passage, what it's going to do, it's going to give me commentaries where this lemma is talked about. And once again, that we can change. So right now it's using all commentaries. We can do the same thing, that we can create a collection specifically for the important words, so that the commentaries that I use the most, I can then select them commentaries, and for it to only show those. And as you can see here, is that it is going to explain this lemma right here. And it does this for every single what they deemed as an important word. Next, we have lemma in a passage, and I just talked about that. But here is the ancient literature. What this does is that this tells me what is either implied or at least talked about in either that the early church fathers or in the Old Testament. So in this case, I can see that this phrase is used, and what it's saying, a very similar phrase is used. So it's going to the ancient literature of the first century and pulling from when they either allude to a similar thing or talk about a similar thing. He now goes down this section called commentaries. I can change what commentaries I choose to use. So right now, it is selected at all commentaries. I can choose whichever commentaries I want. And this would be helpful as if you created a commentary group just for the exegetical guy. It's going to pull from your journals. So anytime that this passage is either referenced or talked about, it's going to pull up any journal that talks about your passage. And you can search all journals. Now, what I would recommend you to do is just deal with one verse at a time. So anytime Luke 1:1 is used, it's going to pull up from a journal right here. Next is your grammars. So what this is going to do is pull up whenever this verse is talked about in a grammar. There are specific books that as you get into higher base packages, you have a lot of grammars. I particularly use a grammar much like a commentary. So when I am trying to understand the syntax, that I'll use my grammars like a commentary. So it goes into that introduction, whether it's concerned with an exegesis, etymology, morphology. Here's also something that you can do. So you can search in your grammars. And I have 107 grammars. And I'm going to not do all the verses, but I'm just going to look at one verse at a time. So that brought it down to 43. I can deal with either a series. I can type. I can get into specific authors, and I can list the books or the entire library. Visualization. Here is your diagrams. I have a lot of diagrams. So anything that gives you a visual form of what this passage is, it's going to list. I use the Lexham Discourse New Testament a lot. This is one I use, and you got to keep in mind that this is using discourse analysis. And then that it's going to give you this in the discourse analysis form. There's also this one right here. This is going to give you more into a diagrammal form. This is the Cascadia syntax graph. This gets a lot more in depth based on the word and So how this is being done, so this is one major level. So a sub-level here is that this deals with this as a conjunction. So this says that this is a conjunction. It's an adverbial clause. Here's another clause. S stands for subject. NP, nominal phrase. So you can go into each one of these. Another one that the Lexham has very similar to the sense, but slightly different, and it's going to use more discourse analysis. So it's going to have I prefer this over the Cascadia syntax graph. So it's got the subject clause, a infer, a infinitive clause, a prepositional phrase, a participial phrase, and it gets because this is just easier for me to deal with. There is a whole bunch here. There's also that the clausal outline here, and it does this in more of an outline form. This is your exegetical guide. This is looking at more minute detail of words, of specifically words and phrases. I hope this was helpful. You have a great day.